Hello, Yarny Friends. It is so good to be recording again. I have no idea when my next video is going to be uploaded because of life right now, but I had the opportunity to record one tonight and I am grabbing it, and I'm just so glad to see you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I have so much to catch you guys up on, and I just cannot wait to show you what I've been working on. So, little bit of life stuff first. My husband works kind of crazy hours being a trucker, as he is, and that combined with my youngest, Georgiana's sleep schedule, has not made an environment that has made it easy for me to film. If you hadn't already known that, I've tried to kind of keep you guys updated, but if you're just popping in, that is why there has not been a lot of videos from me lately. So, the baby, Georgie, my 1-year-old, she is conked out. She went to bed at the same time as her sisters tonight for the first time in a very long time. So I am taking the opportunity to record a little something. So, without further ado, let's get into some of the things that I've been working on. Filming hasn't been happening, uploading has not been happening, but my hands have not been idle. I am still in my yarn craft, I'm still doing things, and if anything, I have a greater list of things that I need to get recorded over time, unfortunately, due to current life circumstances. But I have more things coming up for you. So if you have not already, please subscribe. They will be uploaded. I cannot give you a timeline because of the way that life is right now, but they will be uploaded, Lord willing, soon. I am trying to figure out a way to have I have four girls. 2 are in school. One's in school every day. The other one's in school 3 days a week. I'm trying to figure out how on one of those days where I only have 2 at home that I'm able to have someone watch the kiddos, so that I only need to have 2 babysat at a time, and they can hopefully watch them for the duration of the school day. A little tricky because there's a baby nap in there. But I am trying to come up with ways so that I have a solid chunk of time that I can record. If I have a full school day's worth of time to record, I'd be able to get like a whole month's worth of videos like recorded, I swear. Not edited. That's a different thing entirely. But I could get them all filmed. So, you know, like in the evening, I can edit if the baby's awake, you know, whatever. That's not an issue. It's just the actual filming that's the hard part. So, I'm working on that. But in the meantime, I will show you what yarn things I've been working on. The first is just, I posted this on my YouTube channel. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. Just this very basic beanie, but it is a C2C beanie. And first of all, I love the colors of this yarn. I will link this yarn in the description box. This is Cakes Blues from Ice Yarn, and this gorgeous colorway that I'm just absolutely in love with. And because it's C to C, or corner to corner, it has that really pretty slanted diagonal to the way that the yarn works up. So this is just a basic rectangle. I have no pattern for this. I just, like, literally, it was just me making a corner to corner rectangle to the circumference of my head and to the length that I wanted it to be. And then when the rectangle was completed, this is the back seam. I just sewed it together. You can't even really see the seam, which is awesome. Yay C2C for not showing seams. I just sewed it together with it wasn't a running stitch, a whip stitch. I sewed it together with a whip stitch, and then I did a running stitch around the top so that I could pull that string and make it puckered, and that's what closed the top. Simple, simple, simple. If you know how to do C2C, you can make this in less than a day easy. And I just love the way that the colors look in that yarn. And it's nice and cozy. There's no need for a brim with this. It's just, I made mine a little slouchy. It's just cute. I just love it. This was one of those, excuse me. This was one of those creations where my husband found it laying around the house and he was like, when did you make this? And I was like, well, I don't know, I just did. And he was like, I love the colors in that. Like, it looks so great. Which, I mean, my husband loves what I do, but he's not one to just like randomly like compliment something that I created. So that is my C2C beanie right there. I love C2C stitch. It works up fast and it is simple once you get the hang of it. It's a little complex once you like have just started doing it, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple. And it can just come up with some really, really great creations. So you also might have seen this in a post that I did. This is a C2C infinity scarf. My tails are not woven in, forgive me. I pulled it out because it was not long enough to become an infinity scarf. And I ripped it all back to make the width here skinnier so that it would have the length that I needed with the yarn that I had for it to be an infinity scarf. And it worked out. My join in the back here is a as you go C2C join. It's pretty simple. If you know how to do C2C, I feel like the C2C as you go for joining on those seams is pretty intuitive. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it's pretty intuitive. And that's the join in the back, which is awesome because it's darn near invisible. And this is Scarfy yarn from Lion Brand. And it just makes a really pretty infinity scarf. I really like this. The colorway is gorgeous. The gradient fade on this scarf is beautiful. It's lovely. But even when it's completed here, it's just not really, I know myself and I know I'm not gonna wear this often. So I'm contemplating donating this so that somebody who might not otherwise have a scarf might have access to it. I know that my local food pantry also takes clothing donations so that if people cannot purchase their own clothing, they can go through and shop for what they need and access that stuff for free. So I have so much winter stuff here right now, like it's just crazy. Like I have so much just stashed. And so I need to just make a donation to my food pantry so that there are people that I know need it who are able to access it. And always support your local food pantry, guys. Full disclosure, being vulnerable here for a minute, there were periods in our marriage where we had to use the food pantry. And I have no guilt about that, but it just goes to show that you never know where someone's really at and what their needs are. And so if you have the ability to donate to a food pantry, definitely do it. Whether you have, like I do, a food pantry that takes clothing items and you're cleaning out your closets, go donate to your food pantry instead of Goodwill. Nothing against Goodwill. I shop there all the time. But they do make a profit off of it, obviously. They are a for-profit business. They are not a nonprofit. And your local food pantries might be in need of clothing donations for people who really cannot go and purchase clothing for themselves. So if you have that in your community, always do what you can to support your local food pantry. I'm very thankful that since we have needed to use food pantries in the past, that since then we have been able to donate generously to our local food pantries because of all of the wonderful service that they provided us over the years. And so it's just one of those things where it's good to know that there's a resource there that has served us when we needed it, but now that we're in a different position, we can turn around and help to support that resource because there are so many people who need it. You never know who it is. You really don't. But I'm just thankful for that. So support your local food pantry, y'all. So those are my first two makes. If you were keeping tabs on my community section of my channel, you may have seen a while ago now that I was wanting to learn how to hand knit. Not just machine knit, but hand knit as well. And so I have been slowly, very slowly, working on a hand knit little, right now it's just a swatch. I mean, like, in my wildest dreams, this will eventually turn into a scarf. But in the meantime, it's just a pretty swatch. This yarn is Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn in some color of print. I don't know what the colorway was. But this is what I have been working on. And I've always known, well, not always known. There was some point in my life where I learned how to knit and purl. But that time was quite a while ago, so I've known how to hand knit. I've known the basics of it. I am capable of doing it, but I'm slow at it, and I've not put the effort into perfecting it in a very long time. And honestly, like, I haven't worked on this probably since the start of the year. But, and this is probably a month's worth of work, I'm still not fast. But this is like, I'm not working on this every day. Like, this just sits around and then I'll just be like, oh, I should knit a few rows. And then I'll pick it up and I'll knit a few more. And then it'll sit there for a week. And then I'll pick it up again and I'll knit a few rows. And then it'll sit there for a week. So this is not something that I'm putting any pressure on myself. This is just basically like a sampler or a primer for me to exercise my skills in hand knitting so I can get better at it. I know that I could do it and I could do it really well if I wanted to put the effort and energy into it. I have confidence that I'm gonna get there. But right now, where I'm at with my schedule and busyness, my husband's work schedule and everything else, I like to lean into the knitting machines and my crochet craft. I don't doubt that there will be a time in my life where I'm able to make really gorgeous, complex knitted items. Today's not that day, and I'm okay with that, but I'm really glad that I have this. Just kind of like, it just sits around in my yarn basket and I grab for it so that if I want to stitch a few rows, I can. So that is my progress on my little hand knit project because I want to be well-rounded. I want to be able to know how to do everything associated with yarn crafts. I really do. And I want to be able to do everything well. I want to be well-rounded. I want this, since it has become something that I'm putting out there into the big wide world, to be something that I'm knowledgeable in, not just in one area, but in all areas. So my next foray should be Tunisian crochet. That's what it should be, you guys. I will move on to the next thing. I don't know if you've seen this kind of chilling out over here, but this is my next Yarny blanket. Dun, da, da, dun. This is actually not my blanket. I created this and gifted it to my mother at Christmas. This was her Christmas present. It's still not fully completed at the end of January. I apologize, Mom. You're a wonderful person. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with sickness, children, and my husband's work schedule, which I know she understands that. My mother is amazing. She is full of grace and wonderfulness and just, I have fabulous parents. We'll just leave it there. I have fabulous parents. But either way, this was her gift for Christmas. Now, I don't know if you picked up on what this was while it was sitting next to me. Honestly, I didn't even realize it was in frame until I've been talking for a minute. But let's see if you know what this is. Have you figured it out yet? Do you know what this is? Do we have any history buffs in the house? This is my Addy knitting machine version of a replica of a Hudsons Bay Company blanket. This one was a labor of love, you guys. There was a lot of math and trial and error that went into this, and like I said, it's not even completed yet. But it is only 2 panels away from being completely finished. Yeah. You know what? Something that I've learned through many years of therapy and just general aging and life experience and parenthood, if I'm being honest, you have to be adaptable and be okay with the fact that things don't always happen on the timetable that you plan for. And that's okay. So if that's you today, if things are not happening on the timetable that you planned for or expected, take a breath. It will happen in the time that it needs to happen in. And just keep making progress, slow and steady, keep going. All right. I'll stop trying to, there's a word for it. I will stop attempting to give you therapy for the night. But this is my Hudsons Bay blanket. I am absolutely in love with it. Yes, I will have this as a pattern on my website and as a tutorial here on YouTube. Don't ask me when, because I don't know, and I'm doing my darndest to get this out for you guys. But I absolutely love it. This is probably my favorite thing that I've ever created on my Addy. Like 100%. Like, I just love this blanket. I grew up going to historical reenactments that, not Civil War, that's not my jam. Reenactments from like pre-Revolutionary War, fur trader kind of period. I was homeschooled, and that was one of the big things that we did to learn like American history. And it was just fabulous. It was an incredible way to kind of grow up and experience that, to hear the bagpipes and the fife and drum corps, and to talk to people who had this incredible wealth of knowledge about pre-Revolutionary War American history. And a huge thing from that time period was the Hudsons Bay Company and this specific Hudsons Bay blanket. And so they are extremely expensive. They're real pricey. And so I wanted to create one for my mom because she's wanted to have one her entire life. Never been able to afford one. I mean, truly, who has a budget of $500 for a blanket? I mean, like, I'm not spending $500 on a blanket. Like, as much as I love it, it's just not going to happen. So I wanted to create a replica of that for her. And this is that replica. You may have noticed that it was missing. This is called a Hudsons Bay 4-point blanket. And it was missing its 4 points. Never fear. Those 4 points are here on this skinny little panel that has yet to be attached. So if you Google or look up what a Hudsons Bay 4-point blanket looks like, it will be this for the majority of the blanket, with the middle section looking like this. But on one side, it will have the middle section looking like this, with these 4 navy stripes down the side. Now, these little stripes here were intended to declare the price of the item. So these 4 stripes represent how many beaver hides or beaver pelts that this blanket cost in pre-Revolutionary War times, because that was the currency of the time in pre-revolutionary marginally explored America was beaver hides, because they were in massively high demand in Europe. People wanted those beaver skin hats, and so the way that you traded and had currency or were wealthy were by how many beaver that you were able to trap. And so that showed the cost of the item. So this was a 4 beaver pelt blanket. They have, Hudson's Bay had blankets where if you see like 3 stripes but only half of one, that means that it was like 3.5 pelts, or just 3. If you look into the history of it, it's fascinating. So this is a 4-point blanket. That means that it cost 4 beaver hides to purchase this blanket. So the intention is, once this blanket is, I need one more wide panel, and then I can put this little skinny panel on the side for the points. But the intention is, see if I can hold this up so you can see. It will have the 4 points along one side of the blanket when it is all stitched together. I've been stitching this together with Mattress Stitch, and it has been working up really, really nice. My only critique of Mattress Stitch is that it just takes longer. It takes longer than crocheting it together with slip stitch, which is my generally preferred method for joining my knitting machine blankets. It just takes more time, which is fine. But it just, the process, everything's in process, you guys. That's kind of like my takeaway from the season of life, is that it's a process and you have to be okay with it and take a deep breath and go on to tackle the next day. As an example of that, like I said, this only needs 2 more panels. It needs 1 more panel from my 46 machine, and it needs 1 more panel from my 22 machine. Here's my beautiful panel from my 22 machine with my points on it. The panel that I created on my 46 machine, it's all created, it's done, it's ready, but for some strange, wacky reason on that last panel, my row counts are horrifically off to the point where they cannot be corrected. I can correct row counts being off by 1, 2, even 3 rows, but not by like 10. Like there's no correction for that. Like really, it stretches the blanket out weird. It's not okay. So I need to recreate that entire panel. I was near the end of my yarn in this color, which is the main color of the blanket. You can see I have my remnants of 3 different skeins here. And I need to tear out what I had to recycle that yarn. I have enough of the 4 colors, the navy, the yellow, the red, and the green, but I don't have enough of this basic color that I was using, and I don't want to have to buy more yarn. So I need to recycle the yarn from the panel that I have completed that is horrifically off. And I need to just completely remake that panel so that I can finally get a mattress stitched together and then get that last skinny panel on it, and then the blanket will be done. You do not need, if you are interested in making this blanket for yourself and you only have a 46 or a 48 pin / needle machine, you do not need to have the smaller 22. Like, it is not necessary. The only reason why you would need the smaller 22 is if you were like a history like purist like me that really wanted to have those 4 points on the side. If you want these 4-point markings for the middle, you'll probably want a smaller machine. If you don't have it, but you still want to make the blanket, unless you're a history nerd like I am, I don't think anyone's going to notice that your replica Hudson's Bay Blanket does not have its 4 points on it. No, I think that everyone's going to look at this and just go, oh my goodness, what a gorgeous blanket. Did you make that? And you can be like, yeah, I did. Thank you. I made this. It's gorgeous. Is it not? It's absolutely gorgeous. So I wish I could get this entire thing in frame, but you guys know how I roll. I don't always have the space to get everything in frame. But that is my sneak peek for you guys tonight. What have you been working on? I've missed you guys. It has been a very long month. Yeah, the last thing that I posted was the end of December, and we're now at the end of January. That's a long time to be away from YouTube, especially when you're used to posting like minimum one, usually 2 videos a week. So thank you for hanging in there with me as we go through this kind of weird transition. But I'm just so glad to be here and recording again. Like I said, I don't know when my next video is going to be uploaded. I have no idea. It is entirely dependent on my husband's work schedule and the baby going to bed. But in the meantime, I'm very thankful that I was able to record a video for you guys tonight. And I hope that you're having a wonderful day, month, winter season, or summer season, depending on where you're watching this from. Yeah, and just blessings on you guys. I'm still here. I'm still around. And we will, Lord willing, talk to you all very, very soon. All right. Bye, Yarny Friends.